guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are finally doing the full face using only E.L.F cosmetics. I'm so excited for this video. I literally have so many goodies in front of me. If you guys didn't know, I actually used to work for E.L.F Cosmetics, like the retail store. That was actually my very first job whenever I moved to California. So I just have like an abundance of E.L.F stuff in general. And then I also did an online order and got some of their newer items or just things that kind of intrigued me that I had never tried before. So needless to say, I have so many things to show you guys. I'm really excited for this video. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut straight to it. So if you're excited to see how I created the look that I'm currently wearing, then go ahead and stay tuned for the video. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna first go in with a little bit of the E.L.F Poreless Putty Primer. And here is what it looks like inside. You can definitely tell that I've used this quite a bit. Let me kind of try to get some out of here so I can show you guys the consistency of this. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's really hard to explain like the consistency. Let's go ahead and start applying though. I think the best way that I honestly can describe it, it kind of reminds me of butter. You know how like butter is solid and then whenever it like touches something or heats up, it starts to melt. That's honestly what it kind of reminds me of. But I have even noticed that my foundation has been applying a lot more evenly and I feel like it doesn't like cake up on me quite as bad throughout the day. And I get pretty oily because it's so hot here in Florida. I don't notice that it adds any extra like oiliness or anything like that. So if you have just been like dying to try this like I was, I would say go ahead and pick it up. It's only $8. So up next, we're gonna go ahead and apply some foundation. For foundation, I'm gonna be using the Acne Fighting Foundation. So today I'm actually gonna be going in with the shades Porcelain and Sand. I have to mix in just like a dot of sand to the porcelain because this is just a little bit too pale for me right now. So I've been using this foundation for about 2 years now. I've continued to use it over the years because it is actually, like I said, an acne fighting foundation. So it does have just a little bit of salicylic acid in it. I definitely find that on the days where I have really bad acne and just like really fresh acne, if you know what I mean, TMI, but I usually tend to gravitate towards these just because I do know that they have that acne ingredient in there that is gonna help me with all my little pimples on my face. So highly recommend this foundation. It's like $6. You really can't beat it. So I'm just going to dot this all over the face. I would definitely say this is more of a medium coverage foundation. You can definitely build it up to full coverage. I've totally did that in the past. So I'm gonna go in with their little beauty sponge to blend this out, but I kept the packaging to show you guys. This is the Total Face Sponge. I'm sure you cannot see that, but just so you know what the packaging looks like to look for it at the drugstore. I love this sponge. I've been using this for a few days to a week now and it is amazing. Why has no one told me about this sponge? I'm gonna start blending because I don't want this to dry, but this sponge is so incredibly soft and it just blends everything out so quickly. I usually use, let me show you. I usually do the Real Technique sponge, which it's fine. Like I really like it. It's only like a few bucks at the drugstore and so is this one. I think it's like tops $5. I'm not for sure right off the top of my head, but I'll leave everything down below for you guys. I definitely though going forward will probably only buy this one as long as they keep making it because it is that good and I promise you guys I wouldn't recommend something unless I was like passionate about it. Okay, so foundation is on and all blended out. It's looking real good. It still looks like your skin, but just a little bit more covered up. And I am gonna set it with powder in a second. So a lot of this dewiness will kind of go away just because it's real hot in Florida and I can't be doing the dew because it is just too hot and I will sweat it all off. So now I'm gonna go in with a little bit of concealer and of course I'm gonna use the 16-hour Camo concealer. It looks like this. I have been using this concealer for the past few months and I'm obsessed. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about it. I've even used it in a few videos, but I have it in 2 different shades. So this one's gonna be the light peach and this is medium peach. They don't really have like an in-between color that really matches me, so just mixing these 2 together works perfectly. My favorite part about this concealer, honestly, is the applicator. Like it is so large, so it just really covers a lot of area quickly. So what I'll do is I'll go in with the medium and I'll do about 3 or so dots under my eyes, and I do like to do this color down my nose and just a little bit around the mouth. And then I'll go in with the lighter one. We'll do just like 2 more little dots. You really don't need too much, and I tend to go a little overboard sometimes because I forget that, but this is like a very intense concealer. Like a little bit goes a pretty long way. But if you haven't tried this concealer, it's like $5 at Walmart or something like that. And last time I went, they had like a huge display of them, and they even had testers, which Walmart is stepping up their makeup game. I was very surprised that they had testers of these products. It reminds me of the Tarte Shape Tape. So if you've tried that concealer before, it is very, very similar, like as in like the finish of it and the coverage and the applicator. Very, very similar. So I haven't purchased that one in a very, very long time. And I'm not gonna do my eyelids yet. I normally would drag the concealer up onto the lid, but I still have to do my brows, and I normally clean up under the brow area with a little concealer, so I don't want to add any yet because I will in a second. So the concealer is all applied now, but before I start creasing, let me set it with a little bit of powder. I am going to be using their matte setting powder in the shade Light. So I'm actually just going to grab this on a brush because I don't want to get a lot of powder on my beauty sponge because I'll need that in a second for more cream products. But I'm just gonna press this under the eyes and set that before it starts creasing. My only complaint about this powder is it's a little bit more yellow, so it tends to darken my concealer just a little bit more than I would like it to. But I'm not mad about it, and this is the only powder I have to use today, so we're just gonna go with it. I do, though, really, really like it all over the face. It looks really pretty on the skin, and I really like the color. I think they have a few other shades. I don't think they have a lot, maybe like 2 or 3 others. Don't quote me on that. Okay, so I probably will like bake under the eyes in a little bit, but like I said, I don't want to get powder on this because I'm going to use this to blend out the concealer and powder just don't really mix together. So now we're gonna go in and do the brows. For brows today, we're actually gonna be using 2 different products. First, I like to go in with the Ultra Precise Brow Pencil. It's very precise, so you can basically like create little brow strokes very easily. And this is in the shade Neutral Brown, or just Neutral, I can't remember. And I also like to go in with this little palette. I've used this in like a past video too. This is the Shadow Brow and Liner palette. So this is what it looks like. You get a lot of different shades to choose from for your brows. Today we're just gonna be going in with this shade and this shade here. I'm actually only gonna do 1 brow on camera because I've already planned to do like an updated brow routine for you guys. So what I like to do with the brow pencil is just kind of softly go in, creating that little outer tail end of the brow. And now I'm just gonna use the pencil to kind of make sure the underneath of the arch is nice and precise. So something like that. It's not perfect yet. Concealer makes a really big difference when you go in and clean it all up. But I am gonna go in and kind of brush that through to make sure that there's nothing like too harsh. And then I will take the E.L.F. little brow pencil that has the angled side and the spoolie, and I'm gonna go in with the lighter shade here. Whoops, this one right here. Take a little bit of that, just a bit, like I literally just tapped in 1 time. I don't like to immediately go into the beginning of my brow because I don't want the majority of the product to be right there. So I'll start like back in here and just kind of work that into the brow and fill in any areas that we missed with that pencil. I'm also going to turn it like straight up and down and just very lightly create little brow strokes to make it mimic brow hair. Okay, so I think that's pretty good for filling it in. I'm gonna now go in with the lighter of the 2 concealers, so Light Peach, and then we are going to grab the E.L.F. concealer brush. Yes, that is what it's called. I'm just gonna take a little bit from the handle. I like to start by putting the majority of the product just on my lid because I'm gonna use this as our like primer for our shadow, but now I do need my mirror back, so let me grab that. And I will just kind of take this right up underneath the brow, and then I will just go in and make sure everything is really nice and sharp. So I'm just going to blend this out, and sometimes I even take this other side because it has that really nice and sharp edge, and this helps me to get just like right up underneath the brow. That's looking pretty good for now. So I'm gonna hop off here really quickly and do this brow, and once we get back, we'll start working on the eyeshadow. Okay, so I'm back and my brows are all filled in now. I did go ahead and put some more like setting powder underneath my eyes before we go in and do the eyeshadow, because we're using really bright colors today, so just in case any of it were to fall down, this just makes it like a lot easier to brush it off afterwards. So that's what's going on here. Okay, so for eyeshadow, we're gonna go in with this 18 Hit Wonder palette by E.L.F, of course. This is what the palette looks like up close and personal. I love the color selection. It's crazy that this is an E.L.F palette, and just look how much color this is. But you get a lot of shadows for the price, and they're actually really, really pigmented, and they blend very, very well. Okay, so the first shade that I wanna take is this one here called Peachy. And to apply that shade, I'm gonna go in with the Fluffy Eye blender brush, and I'm just gonna take some of that, and I'm just gonna start fluffing this into the crease all the way from the inner corner, and I am gonna extend it just a little bit, probably about to the end of where my brow ends. Like I said, these shadows are really, really soft and just blend really seamlessly. Like that's basically already blended, and I really haven't did too much to get it to that point. I kind of want to try to zoom in and see if you guys can see the eyeshadow portion better if I do it that way. So we're gonna zoom in. Let me know down below if you like this little zoom situation better just for like my eyeshadows, because I do feel like you can kind of see a little better. So let me know in the comments down below. I'm still playing around with this camera. It's so much better than my old one, so there's just so much to learn about it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I think I'm just gonna do one eye on camera today and then do this one off camera to see if it like saves me a little bit of time when I'm editing. Okay, so that is basically the transition shade all blended out. So up next, we're gonna go in with this shade right here called Summer. And to apply that shade, I'm just gonna use this little E.L.F brush that came in my J Kissa palette. Okay, so I'm gonna take this right into the crease. And I don't wanna take this one up too far. I'm also going to drag this out as well, kind of extend that just a little bit. I just really like it more extended. I just feel like it looks way more dramatic and just different. And then I'm gonna go back in with the blender brush, and I really like to focus on that inner corner to make sure there's no like choppy lines, because my inner corner is a little bit harder to get into. We all obviously have different face shapes, but this is where it gets a little splotchy on me sometimes, and then like right on the outer corner it gets a little splotchy as well. So I just really like to make sure those two areas are like really, really blended. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how that is all blended out. So next I wanna go in with this darker orange called Heat. And to apply that, I'm gonna be using their detailed crease brush. This is like honestly my favorite brush by them because it's very small, but it's still really fluffy. So it helps to like blend the shade in, but you can obviously, like it says, you can be a little bit more detailed and more precise. And I will also be kind of extending this shade just a little bit, kind of like doing little circular motions so it doesn't get real choppy out in the outer part of the eye. I'm just gonna take that brush that we used in the last step and just mesh this all together. Make sure everything's real blended. Oh, I love these colors so much. Like if I could just wear orange eyeshadow the rest of my life, I would be a-okay with that, honestly. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the blend of everything. So now we are actually gonna go back in to the light peach concealer, and I'm gonna just take this straight from the tube, do one little dot on my eye, and then quickly before it dries, I'm gonna take their blending brush, and I am going to first pat this out just to kind of place it all over the lid, just like that. Once I get it all the way from the inner corner to the outer corner, and if you get too much, you can just like kind of dab the excess on the back of your hand. So you just want to work really fast because that concealer does dry extremely quick. So I am just patting over all of this. I'm trying not to mess up any of the blend that we have going on up in the crease, but if you do a little, don't worry about it because I will go back in and touch it up after we do the yellow. But this is a really light concealer, so once I do go in with this yellow, it's not only gonna help it stick a little better, but it's also gonna make sure that the color payoff is like as bright as we can get it, because I really want this yellow to be like the main focus of this look and really pop. So now I'm gonna go into that yellow right here. And to apply that shade, I'm gonna go in with their eyeshadow C brush. It's just like a really tightly packed brush. So I'm gonna grab a bunch of shadow and make sure you tap off the excess. And I'm just gonna start patting this all over where we put the concealer. With this look, you don't have to worry about it being like super like straight and precise, because I'm not really doing like a cut crease type of deal. I'm just simply getting it on there first, and then like I said, we'll go back into the crease and work on blending this in with the other shades. So I think this is basically as intense as I'm going for. So next, we're gonna go back in with the fluffier brush and back into, you guys can't see, back into this shade right here, which is called Summer. And very lightly, because I don't want to take away any of the pigment from the yellow, but I do want that yellow to blend in with our crease colors. So I'm very lightly going to blend the two together. If you lose a little color intensity, it's fine. You can just go right back in with that yellow shade. I'm also gonna go back into the Heat darker orange shade. So I'm just pressing this right over top of where we put it earlier. I'm gonna create like a small little V, and then again, back in with that smaller little blending brush. I'm actually gonna grab the big guy here. This look is totally giving me like hot Cheeto vibes. This was not intentional. I do love me a good hot Cheeto. It's okay, I'm gonna rock it and it's gonna look great. Okay, so this is basically how all of that is looking. I do kind of want to take just a little bit more yellow and just very lightly press it more in the center. I don't really want to go up any further because we just did all of that blending, but that really helps. Yeah, that really helps to bring back a little bit of that color. So now I'm going to take my powder brush and dust off any excess powder under the eyes, because we're gonna go in and do the lower lash line. And I'm gonna leave this obviously because I'll do that off camera. The first shade that I want to use is the Heat shade again. So I'm just using the other end of that fluffy brush. This is just more of like a kind of pointed dense brush. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that. So I'm gonna first start by pressing this as close as I can get it to the lower lash line. I really hope that you guys can see what I'm doing. So now I'm just gonna use another little detailed brush that also came in one of these palettes that I have. And I am gonna take the Summer shade right here again. And I'm just gonna take this right underneath that shade just to kind of help blend it out a little bit and to bring a little bit more color down there. So I'm basically just repeating exactly what we did earlier, but kind of like in reverse steps. So I'm using the darker shade first and then going in with the lighter shades to gradually like blend that down just a little bit. And I am going to go in with a little bit of the yellow and just go right below that lash shade we just placed. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how that lower lash line's looking. So I'm just going to take a small precision brush and go back into the yellow here. I actually want to wrap this around, so I'm gonna place it on the inner corner first, And then a little bit down here on the lower lash line. And something else that you can do if you feel like that outer corner isn't quite as sharp as you want it to be, just take a little bit of your setting powder and the sharp end of the sponge, and you can actually just press this just like this and let it set for a minute. And once you brush that off, it will be just really nice and sharp. That is a little trick that I like to do, especially if I've already did all of my face makeup. So yeah, this is one eye completely done. Now I'm gonna go in and apply these lashes. These are actually the Faux Mink lashes in the style Troublemaker. I made sure to keep the box so I could show you guys what they looked like. But I've worn these a few times now and I honestly really like them like a lot. They are extremely good quality. I think they're only like $5, which is way cheaper than what I normally like purchase for lashes. So I think I'm gonna start using these. I definitely want to try some more styles from them because I think they had a few more. Let me pop this on though before the glue gets too tacky. So let's see here. I also want to do a lash video for you guys, like super in-depth lash video, and really like zoom in so you guys can see all the details, because I think that would be extremely helpful. So this is what the lash looks like on. It obviously like still has a ton of lash glue that needs to dry, and then I probably will go in once they dry and like press my real lashes with the falsies. I usually even do take a little black eyeliner and go across like the lash band just to make sure you can't see any of that glue once it's dry. But I just want to show you guys what they look like before I hop off here and do this eye. Okay, so I'm back and obviously have both of my eyes finished now. Let me scoot in a little bit. This is what it's looking like so far. I really love how the eyes are turning out and the lashes are just so pretty and so dramatic. So now let's go ahead and move on to our face makeup. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and get started on blush and contour. This is the contour palette by E.L.F. So in this, you do get a bronzer, contour, and kind of like a banana powder to clean up like your bronzer, or you can even use it to kind of like highlight under the eyes. And you also get like a shimmery highlight. It's not like too shimmery, like let me show you. It's very like glow from within type of shimmer. It's not very intense at all, very natural. So first I'm gonna go in with the bronzing shade, and to apply that I'm gonna go in with the angled blush brush. So for the bronzer, I'm just gonna take this where I would naturally be just a little bit more bronzed up. Now this is a pretty natural powder, so if you're any deeper than I am, I would probably recommend getting the deep version of this. They do have a darker one, so definitely if you are any darker than me, you will probably want that one, because this one honestly is almost too light for me and I'm real pale. So I'm just gonna take this all along the jawline, and then of course I'm gonna go all around my forehead. I'm not sure what's on this brush, but we're gonna just keep going. Literally, what is on here? I think it's foundation. There's no telling how that got there, to be quite honest. And then I like to take the like pointy edge of the brush and dip into the contour portion and just kind of chisel out that cheekbone a little bit more. Now I'm gonna go in and do a little bit of blush, and the palette that I'm gonna be using for that is their Modern Metals palette. I got this during a sale online. It was like $4 and I think it was originally around 10. So this entire row is highlighters, and then this entire row is gonna be the blushes. The blushes are amazing. They are so pigmented, it's unreal, like you will see. I'm gonna use the, what is this called? I'm not sure what this line's called, I forgot, but the brush number is 107. Just like a little blush brush, but it's really fluffy so it doesn't over apply, which is what you need with this type of blush. So I'm gonna actually take the peachy one, and just a little bit goes a long way. And I'm just gonna tap this on the apples of my cheek and kind of blend back. And you'll see just how pretty and peachy that is. I'm gonna get a little more. I always take just like a little dusting on my forehead just to equal everything out, and then a little on my nose. Oh, I forgot to contour my nose. We will do that in just a second. So now, once again, I'm gonna go right back in with the sponge and press right over the apples of the cheek. And this will kind of help to diffuse the product a little bit and make it look a little bit softer because I think I went a little overboard. But that's okay. Blush is really pretty, so that's okay. And I did go down a little far, so I'll clean that up. But first, I almost forgot to contour my nose. So for that, I'm actually just gonna use their little crease brush because it's nice and fluffy. And I'm gonna grab our contour palette again, and I'm actually just gonna mix these two contour and bronzing shades together. And I like to start on the tip of the nose. And I'm not perfect at this, so do not judge if it doesn't look like amazing. I'm trying to practice more because this is like one thing that I'm just not the best at, honestly. Okie dokie, so looks good. Next, I'm just gonna take our loose setting powder again and get some in the cap. And I'm gonna take the sponge that we used. And I just wanna clean up this contour because I went a little bit too far down. But this will definitely do the trick. And since this is a colored powder, it will really brighten up underneath that contour and make it look even more chiseled, which I really like a lot. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And I've also been taking a little on the sides of my nose just to help clean that contour up as well. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in and do a little bit of highlighting, and I'm gonna use the Glow, Gleam, and Beam palette. So let me open it up. So it looks like this. On the back, it says all the different finishes. So some of them are glitter, shimmer, and some are metallic. And you get a lot of really nice, pretty neutral shades. I have only used this one so far, and I'm obsessed with it. It's so pretty. You'll see it here in a minute on my skin. But yeah, you get a lot of different finishes and several different colors to choose from. So I'm gonna take their highlighting brush. It's a little bigger than what I would normally go for, but I have used it. I'm gonna go in with this one right here, but I have used it to apply highlighter, and it's not that bad. It's just more of like a diffused look. Oh my goodness. It's so pretty. Like, this is one of my current favorite highlighters at the moment. I cannot get enough of it, and it's really pretty like on the body, especially like on the shoulders. I've did that a few times and it's really pretty there. And I'm gonna take another little detailed brush here and pop that right on the inner corners to just kind of give us a little something something there. And I'm also gonna take a little just right down the nose. Okay, so that looks pretty good so far, but now I want to brush off all of this powder. I'm just gonna take the leftover and press it on my forehead. It is so hot in my apartment right now, and I can't really run the air when I'm filming because it's so loud. You would just not be able to hear me at all, so that's why I do that. That is basically it for all of the face makeup. So now I'm gonna go in with this sheer matte liquid lipstick. This is in the shade Warm Verbena, and I've actually worn this several times, and I'm so obsessed with the formula. It's so hard to explain. I mean, I guess sheer matte is the best way to explain it because it does kind of dry down matte, but not as matte as their like regular liquid lipsticks do. It obviously doesn't like last throughout the entire day, but it does last for a little bit, and once it does kind of wear off a little bit, it leaves like a really like soft look on your lips, which is also just as pretty as this alone. So yeah, I highly recommend these. They're like $5 or something like that. Okay, so lipstick is on, and that is the completed look. I love how everything turned out, like I've said a million bazillion times. If I honestly had to choose like 2 products for you guys to pick up, I would definitely have to go with the sponge because it's so soft. It's just as good, if not better, than my beauty blender, and it's really affordable. So if you need a new sponge, or if you're just like curious to try a new one, I would recommend the E.L.F one. And then I also have to like give a shout out to the highlighting palette. this is amazing. You get so many different shade options, so many different finishes for $10, and I feel like this would be a good palette to travel with too because it's so thin and lightweight. So yeah, these two are my like biggest recommendations for you guys. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this type of like full face using only one brand look. Definitely give it a thumbs up if you did, and while you're at it, I would really appreciate it if you guys would subscribe to my channel. That would mean so much to me. But that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!